Hello and welcome to the Seattle ARTCC orientation video. This orientation video will give you all the tools you need to begin your S1 training with us. Let me first start off by saying we're excited to have you here at the Seattle ARTCC. We appreciate you choosing us. We know that there are plenty of facilities that you could have chosen from, so we really do appreciate you taking the time to start your controlling journey with us here at ZSE. We have a lot of things to go over in this video, and we request that you watch this video in its entirety so you can be best prepared for the beginning of your S1 training, and that if you have any questions, please feel free to let us know. The first thing we're going to do is show you how to request training. Make sure you're logged into the website. You should see this button right here that says Request Training Session. Go ahead and click on that, and you'll be presented with the scheduler, which is the primary means of requesting training on the ZSE website. Under Type, select Request Training. Under Position Group, select Minor Clearance Delivery. Under Position, select PDX_DEL. Portland International Airport, or PDX, is where you will start your training, and that's where all of our minor airport training here at ZSE is conducted. When putting in requests, keep the following in mind. Number 1, put in your requests at least 24 to 48 hours in advance, so that way we as training staff can determine if we're around to pick up your request or not. Number 2, put in as many training requests as you can. You're not just limited to one. You can put several training requests in at a time. Number 3, within each training request, you can put up to 6 hours of availability. So, with all of this being said, we encourage you to broaden your availability whenever possible. The time you put in the start and end time right here are block times and are not reflective of how long your sessions are actually going to be. Many new students will commonly make the mistake of only putting in 1 or 2 hours of availability, and then there's a lower chance that their training request will actually get picked up. We want to make sure that we're able to get to every student, and part of how we can do this is by having you as the students broaden your availability. So we encourage you to do that whenever possible. So under Submit Request/Reservation, I'll select a date later on down the road, so I'll select August 8th. The times you are going to put in will be your local time. Make sure you edit your profile accordingly. Under start time, let's say I wanted that to be 5 p.m., so I could do 17, and then the 00 up top. This is 24-hour time. And then another way you could type in a time is if you, or add a time in, I should say, is if you manually typed it in, like so. And that is 10 p.m. The comments, let's put first session. And then I'll go ahead and press Submit. And I've added this training request in. Now, let's say that my availability has gone away for these 2 days, and I don't want to have those training requests in. I can change the mode from Add to Delete, like that. And I can click on both of these requests, like that, and poof, they're off the schedule. So I won't have to worry about a training staff member scheduling me for a session during that time. When your session actually does get picked up, it'll look a little bit like this. This is what a confirmed session is going to look like. You'll also get an email notification stating that your training request has been accepted, and the time for the training session will be available for you as well. As a reminder, if you have not taken the SOP exam yet, you will not have permission to request training. If you have passed the SOP exam, or if you feel like this has been something that has been done in error, feel free to reach out to our management team and we'll be more than happy to help you out. The emails to which will be in the description. We now have some documents we'd like to share with you. In order to access these documents, go to Controller and then Documents. The bottom left-hand corner, you'll see Training Materials. There are 2 documents we'll show you. The first is our Before Requesting S1 training document. This is a document we expect you to have reviewed in full prior to the beginning of your first session. We don't expect you to know every single little detail of this document, but we do expect that you will put in your best effort to review it and do your best to make sure you have a decent understanding of some, if not most, of these air traffic control foundations that will stick with you throughout your entire time here at ZSE. Second document we have is the S1 training syllabus. Our training program is designed in a way that is allowing you, the student, to go at your own pace. So we want you to feel comfortable when training here. We want to make sure that you are able to go at your own pace, and we do not want you to feel rushed in your completion of training. We want to make sure that you have a decent understanding, a firm grasp of all the material before you proceed to the next stage of your training. People always ask me the question, how long does it take to get your S1, as in how many sessions, or how hard is the training here at CSE? And the answer to that question is it really depends. Again, this is a program that is designed to have you go at your own pace. Some students may take longer than others, and that's okay. We don't want you to become discouraged, but we want you to become familiar and proficient in controlling the Portland ground position prior to attaining the rank of S1. Every rating, every certification you earn here, this is our philosophy, is a license to learn. That means we don't expect you to become a stone cold expert in everything, but it does mean that you will keep learning and you will keep becoming better. And just because you have finished your minor ground training, that does not mean you don't have anything else to learn. There is always so much to learn. For me, being a C1, having been a C1 at the time of making this video for the past 4 months, it's really been a big learning experience even after obtaining the rating. So you never stop learning. There's always so much to learn, and we encourage you to become involved in our very active and very vibrant community. You should have received an invite link to Discord, the link to which is in your welcome email. So please make sure that you take this training program seriously. Make sure you are familiar with it. We look forward to working with you from a training standpoint, as well as seeing you around in the community. So at this point, we'll show you how to download and set up VRC. Here I have this Metacraft website, the link to which is in the description, and you'll be able to download VRC from here. Click on this button next to Primary Server, download this exe file, and it'll take you through the install process. On the ZSC website, go to Controller Downloads, which you can access by going to Controller and Controller Downloads. And then under Sector Files, download our master file, ZSC Sector Files, for ARX Cycle 2007. It may be a later ARX cycle depending on when you're watching this video, but this will be our master file. I've already gone ahead and downloaded that. All of your sector files for ZSE are going to be available here. Now I've already extracted a couple of these into a separate folder, so I'll show you what these look like. This is our big sector file that we're going to be using for today for VRC. This includes all the airports and other miscellaneous items within ZSE's airspace. Over here we have our alias file, which is full of dot commands to work with text-only pilots. We do have text-only pilots on this network that cannot receive or transmit voice, so these dot commands are really a big lifesaver. Feel free to edit it if you'd like, just to make something that works for you. We have our POF file as well, which we use to assign a very specific range of squawk codes to pilots. However, we ask that you leave this as it is and don't change it. So at this point, we'll go ahead and actually open up VRC. For me, I control a bunch of different facilities, so you're not going to be presented with this many files, or this many session profiles, I should say, but I'll go ahead and click on the default profile, which is what you will be presented with, and you'll see a blank scope with some range rings. For starters, let's get rid of those range rings. Under View, click on Range Rings. From here, we'll open up our sector file, go to File, Open Sector, and I'll go to the file that I've already made for myself, and I'll open up the sector file just like that. So now you'll see all of ZSE's airspace. We have a very, very large airspace. From the bottom southwest corner to the northeast corner, it's about 700 miles, but you're not going to be responsible for all of this airspace right away. So we're going to zoom in. Now the Portland airport would be around here, but we can't see it, so let's go ahead and fix that. Under View, let's click on Static Text, like so. Now we'll zoom in and you can see all these words, these numbers, these letters, and it doesn't really seem to make any sense. That's because we need the outline of the airport. So in order to pull that up, let's go into Diagrams. Under SIDS, scroll all the way down towards the bottom. Under APDs, you'll see Airports. Go ahead and click on that. And like that, you will see the Portland Airport. You will see the taxiways. You will see the parking areas. The one thing that isn't labeled is our runways, so we would like you to get familiar with these. This is runway 10 right, 28 left. This is runway 10 left, 28 right. And this is runway 3 or 21. Again, this is the airport that you will be doing all of your minor airport training at here in ZSC, so we encourage you to get familiar with Portland right off the bat. So now we'll take you through a few more features on VRC. So under Settings, I'll go to General just to add a couple more things. We'll add the alias file like so, and we'll add the POF file just like that. And I'll also go ahead and check this box right here that says assign squawk codes in random order. I'll click on apply. Hotkeys, the aircraft select key I usually like to have as the tab key, and we'll kind of demonstrate how that works later on. The controller select key and the push to talk key, don't worry about those. You'll be using a separate client known as Audio for Vatsim while controlling, and we'll show you how to download that and set that up later. Click on apply and move on. For airspace, I'll go ahead and limit this to about 10 miles. And for the arrival fields, we'll set KPDX. For the departure fields, we'll set KPDX. This is the airport code for Portland. And then for data tags, flight strips, conflict alerts, and button bar, I don't really worry about these too much. However, these are settings you can play around with. We also have the radar mode, which we suggest you either use ground or tower mode. And then under your color profile, I've already played around with it a lot, but you can modify your current color profile or you can change to a different one. It's really up to you. There's a lot of things you can do in here to play around with that. And then filters, I don't really worry about too much. As long as you're able to see everybody on the ground, then that's fine. The ATIS maker, over here is where you would put your controller information. There's nothing concerning ATISes that you need to worry about in here. Ironically, though, it is named ATIS Maker. We do use a separate piece of software known as VATIS, which will introduce you to a little bit more as you progress through your training. And then as far as sounds, there are a bunch of different sounds within VRC. So, for example, if there's an ATC broadcast, or if there's a broadcast message, that's the sound that'll play. Interestingly enough, you can actually modify these sounds if you'd like to play around with those as well. I see some people do this a lot. It adds a nice little extra entertainment to their controlling. And then you can calibrate your mic in VRC, but we're not going to be really worrying about that as you will be dealing with audio through AFE or Audio for Vatsim. Again, we'll discuss that later. And then two lists I like to bring up are the controllers in and chat list and the aircraft list. And then there's also the weather panel you can bring up, which will show you weather for Portland and the surrounding areas. Then we have our comms panel, which we will discuss a little bit later as well. But at this point, we are now set up for controlling Portland ground. We just need to do a few more things to be fully ready to control, and we'll be ready to go with those in just a few minutes. So now we're going to show you how to download and set up Audio for Vatsim or AFE, as well as a couple other things you will need to get connected to the network. So what we'll do is we'll download AFE. I am already on this specific part of the website. It'll be in the description for you as always. Under ATC, select VRC and you'll be presented with this page. You could download and install the Audio for Vatsim standalone client. On the ZSC website, go ahead under Controller Downloads, go ahead and download the Sweatbox server file. And this is what you're going to need in order to connect to the Sweatbox server, which is the server that we use to run simulated scenarios, which will play a big role in your training with us. So download that and put it into Documents and then VRC. As you can see here, the My Servers file is located in here for you, right here at the bottom. So from here, we'll open up VRC and do a couple of last minute changes. I've selected the COM box by going here, so click on this button right here, or you can go to Tools and then the Comms panel to open it that way as well. I'll click on one of these blank boxes, and I'll type in PDX_DEL next to the position name, and then the frequency is 120.120. Type it all in. Click on Save Changes, move on to the next one. Type in PDX_GND, the frequency for that, 121.900. Well, again, we'll type that all out. For both of these, you can leave the Vox server and Vox channel blank. You can leave those blank. We're going to need this blank in order for Audio for Vatsim to work. So I've saved all those changes, so we're done with that. Let's actually connect. We'll connect to Sweatbox today. For call sign, we'll just type in PDX_S_GND. Your name goes here. Your facility, you're going to be connecting as a ground controller. Your rating, we'll say you're an observer. Your CID, your password, which you should have gotten both of these when signing up for Vatsim. And under server, go ahead and select Sweatbox. From here, we'll go ahead and connect to the network. So we are now connected to the Sweatbox server. Prior to each session you do on Sweatbox, your mentor or instructor will load up a scenario that looks something like this. There will be a bunch of different aircraft on the ground, and we'll be working through a few of these aircraft as you progress through your training. The traffic volume and complexity will increase as you progress, and we want to make sure that you're comfortable and proficient working the position before issuing the S1 rating to you. And again, part of how we do this is by utilizing the Sweatbox server for our simulated training sessions. So, let's play around with it. First things first, let's open up somebody's flight plan. There are a couple ways you can do this. I'll zoom in to this guy right here, UPS 9709. Right click on him, click on Edit Flight Plan, and you'll see his flight plan with his call sign. You'll see his aircraft type. This includes the H prefix, in this case, denoting that he is a heavy aircraft. And then the L at the end is a suffix denoting the equipment that he has on board, which is a big topic we'll be teaching you about as you progress through your training. His flight rules will be IFR, or Instrument Flight Rules. His departure and arrival airports are Portland and Phoenix respectively. There is no alternate airport in his flight plan. His cruise altitude is 35,000 feet, also known as flight level 350. There is nothing in his scratch pad, and his squawk code is 1640. Now, I'll click on Assign Squawk, and it'll assign him a completely different squawk code, 6616. Now, there is a very select range of squawk codes that we do assign aircraft, and in order to actually make sure you're assigning them the correct squawk codes, you can click on the COM box right here. Make sure you prime up on the Portland ground frequency like this, and from here you'll be able to actually assign them squawk codes that fall within the range. I'm repeatedly clicking on Assign Squawk, and as you can see, all of these squawk codes that are being assigned are within the appropriate range for Portland ground. Now let's pretend UPS 9709 Heavy calls up for an IFR clearance, but I don't quite have his flight plan ready to go yet. Let's select him first. In order to do that, you can click on his target like so. Another way you could do it is if you were to type in 9709, assuming it's the only aircraft with those numbers in his call sign, you can press the aircraft select key. If you remember from earlier, I labeled that as the tab key. You can press that and it selects him. Or you could type in his full call sign just to be safe, and you could select him that way. Or if he was the only UPS, I could just type in UPS. Lucky for us, he is the only UPS aircraft, so that works as well. Once you have him selected, you can press the aircraft select key a second time, and that'll add him to the request list. Right after him, let's pretend another aircraft calls up, Alaska 241. Now, I can't see him. I don't know where he is, but with a little scanning, I can get this resolved. Here he is right here. But let's pretend that I don't quite want to zoom in and look around for him quite yet. Well, we can look at our aircraft list, and we can double-click on Alaska 241. That brings up his flight plan. We have everything just like the UPS. We have his departure and arrival airports, and we have his... Now keep in mind, this will beep at you every 30 seconds whenever you have an aircraft on the request list. Again, it will beep at you every 30 seconds or so, just as an incentive, I suppose, to get that clearance out faster, but more importantly, to serve as a reminder that you do have aircraft on that request list, and that you will need to give them their clearance, and you will need to remove them from that request list. So, selecting Alaska 241 in a similar way, I can type in 241, then press my aircraft select key, or I can press escape to unselect him. I can type in ASA because he happy the only Alaska aircraft on the ground, so I'll press the aircraft select key again, press it one more time, and now he's on the request list. Now let's pretend I gave UPS his clearance. We can go ahead and click on him, or select him using one of the other methods discussed previously, press the aircraft select key and get rid of him. Alaska 241, we'll go ahead and select him too. Let's get rid of him. Now he is off the request list. Again, make sure you press your aircraft select key either once if you just click on him, or twice if you are reselecting him like this. Press it once to select him and then press it again to add him. then you can press it again to remove him. It's a pretty straightforward process. Now let's pretend that I have no clue what the weather is at Portland. I want to pull up the weather, but I don't know what it is. Now, as a disclaimer, we want you to become familiar with what the weather conditions are prior to logging on to any position here in the Seattle ARTCC. So in order to pull up the weather, you can press F2 and type in KPDX for Portland. It'll pull up the Portland wind and altimeter. If you click on it, it'll show the full METAR as well. Click on that again to get rid of it. And that is all I have for that. We have set up VRC and we are all good to go, and we are ready to get you on Sweatbox. So at this point we are now done setting up VRC, so we'll go ahead and finalize everything. Click on File, Save Session Profile As, and I'll save it as PDX GND. I'll press OK, and then I already have a session profile that is named like this, so I'll overwrite it by pressing Yes, and it is saved. Now we'll click on File, Disconnect, OK, and it'll disconnect you from the network. And with that, that is all we have for the Seattle ARTCC Observer Orientation video. Thank you so much for watching this video. We really appreciate it. And we thank you for choosing ZSC to start or continue your controlling journey. Please let us know if you have any questions. There are some resources in the description to all of the items we discussed today. There are also a couple of different email addresses that you can reach out to if you do have any questions about training or getting anything set up. There's also the invite link to our Discord server, which you should have gotten in your welcome email. So please go ahead and join that server. In addition to all of our controlling and events and our training being held there, we're also a very vibrant and active community, so we invite you to become a part of that as well. Again, if you do have any questions, please let us know. Welcome to ZSC, and thank you again for watching.